So we're talking about meaningful reps, and we're talking about the circuit.
We can, yeah.
Right.
I mean, I'm geared up with whatever. I even got the videos of me doing drills. Fuck, I can't do them. You know, I mean, not to anything that I would want to like put on video and
yeah,
put out into the world.
So I don't know if you want to. So back to the meaningful rep. There's and if we don't want to talk about this, we'll just edit it out. But I'll bring it up because we haven't mentioned it. So one of the Oregon football players is suing Oregon, the coach, the strength coach at the time, the NC2As. When Willie Taggart, I think I can mention names because it's in the newspapers. Willie Taggart came in with his strength coach, and they did all this super high intensity, doing endless push-ups and up downs with no water all day long, as a bonding toughness sort of thing. I don't want to get into the psychology of all that, really, because they've got their reasons. I don't agree with it necessarily, but I'm not a football player or a football coach. But conversation with my wife Nancy, she always talked about in a very kind of, she's a physical therapist. She doesn't know about athletes. She doesn't know about training. She doesn't know about hammer. But a lot of the things that she does with her patients applies in a way that she would always say, set yourself up to succeed. Don't set yourself up to fail. And so, in my mind, what coaches that do this are doing are literally setting their athletes up to fail. They have to fail at some time. It's like when we went into the weight room, you and I, we were expressly told to not fail. Pick a weight that you can do for 6 reps.
Right.
3 sets of 6 or 4 sets of 4, whatever it was. We were expressly told by Stuart to not fail a lift. And I passed that on. I tried to pass that on when I was coaching. It's like, back off 5 pounds and get a successful lift, and you're going to set yourself up to succeed. And it's a mindset, and it's also a physical thing. And in track and field, you see, one of my 2 big shticks is in track. If you compete at 95%, especially like at a big meet, you suck. Right? If you're not PRing in track and field at the big meet, you're stinking the place up. Right? And the other thing is, paired with that was a short conversation I had with one of the former football coaches before the group that is getting the lawsuit. Great guy, really smart. He said to me once that he was sure that if he could get every single football player on the team that's on the field performing at 60 to 70% of their best for every play for the entire game, all of the players all in one game. So if everybody competed at 70%, they could beat any team in the nation, college or pro.
Yeah, I think that's right. That's got to be right.
So then I'll quit slamming football, but go back to track and field. So as a coach, as a track coach, you have to get those meaningful reps. You have to fine tune your training in such a way that these guys, that your athletes are set up to throw in the 95 to 100% or better on the day, from a high A to a A++. And so you can't do that with mindless repetition. You have to make them meaningful.
Right. and I think the more I think about this, because we described Stewart as being ruthless in practice, I think in one of the episodes. I think that's right.
Yeah.
But I think how he is ruthless is he demanded that every rep be meaningful. And he never used that language, but that's really what it was.
Yeah.
And it wasn't tough guy stuff. It wasn't, I don't remember any kind of like train till you puke, give 110%, no fear, kind of. There was none of that stuff. It was just that ruthlessness on making sure that we were focused in enough to make sure every rep was meaningful, because he definitely wasn't. Like he was definitely locked in on making everything meaningful. But I think you can extend that, and I see that a lot with coaches, even at the high school level. There's ways of I think even coaching throwing techniques where you throw it as hard as you can. You're always trying to find positions in the shot put and the discus, especially, or javelin, especially, where you find that power position so you can throw it as hard as you can. And I think a lot of that is so the athlete can walk, and the coach can walk away from a bad competition feeling like they gave it 110%. Like they have something that they can look back on and say, well, we tried our best. And as opposed to finding a technique where you're only putting in 70% effort because that's how the implement's going to go the furthest.
Right.
But the scary thing is, if it doesn't go, there's bad days. And so if you give 70% and it doesn't go very far, you feel terrible.
Yeah, you didn't try.
Right.
Yeah, that's an interesting point. And if you try to throw as hard as you can all the time, you're never going to develop the technique.
Right.
I mean, I feel about yourself, because we're Americans and we have to try as hard as we can. If some's good, too much is better, and
right.
What is it? If some's good, more is better, and too much is just enough.
Well, I think so. I mean, I think, and I'm biased in how I definitely have a bias in how I coach and what, the technique I use. But I think some of these power position forms that I see other coaches trying to get their athletes into, they are weak positions going into the power position. I think they feel so good because you have to be really strong and throw really hard from those positions because you're in this really weak position.
Right.
It feels like something. And I think that's why we hit like the big C in the shot put, discus, and javelin, is because it feels like you're throwing hard.
Right.
I don't think it does much. Like I haven't found the physics or the biomechanics to say like why that's a good position. Right.
So two things about that. In the hammer, the equivalent is hitting it with your shoulder.
Right.
Yeah, feels hard. Yeah, I'm really moving this ball. No, you're not moving the ball. You're actually slowing it down. And the same with what was the other thing that came to mind? So a big failing in almost everybody, I think, even at a fairly high level. The videos that we see are of world-class, world record, Olympic medalist athletes at their peak. And so unless you find the weird crazies like me that didn't, that just looked a little different. I mean, let's face it, I was standing straight up on the only throw that anybody can really ever see, the 8250 at Knoxville. And I was literally, as you say, trying to throw it maybe 80%, maybe 70 was a little low.
It doesn't look like anything. It doesn't look like anything. It just
It just
I hate to tell you, it's like,
it's slow. I'm not doing anything.
right.
So, and especially like with the shot and the discus, and the javelin. But there's examples of throwers that that fit the model that we are trying to achieve. You just have to find them. But most of them are what's the phrase, confirmation bias. So if you think that throwing is really hard, you're going to find examples of that look really hard. You know, Adam Nelson, his technique looks really hard, and for him it's not. For me, it'd break me in half, right? But there are people that will try to emulate that, and there's some really positive things about that technique. But you have to understand the whole picture.
Well, and I mean, I don't know. I think I met Adam Nelson once. I was behind him in line at a Jimmy John's or something before a meet. But maybe that's the best he could do. I mean, maybe he's trying for something different, and he's just got his own little quirks, and that's the best technique he can do.
Right.
And he's making the best of it and doing really well at it.
Yeah. Or then, yeah. And there's others. You look at Mac Wilkins' in the way back, and he was massively strong, and he's an incredible athlete. So he was able to get into these positions that everybody tries to get into. And as you say, you can't get into them without a discus, without going full speed.
Right.
Just because he's not human.
Well, and I see a bunch of high school kids, you know, because him coaching at Concordia has these like rippling effects, mm-hmm. you know, throughout the high school ranks. And I see these high school kids trying to throw that same sort of style, and it's like, man, that's hard. You're throwing it really hard to get it out there 94 feet.
Yeah. Yeah. What was I going to say? So either way, but by the same token, if somebody tried to emulate me, it wouldn't go anywhere either, unless they knew very specifically what was going on that nobody can see.
Right.
Or you can't see it unless you're looking for it. Right.
Which is why we're here. Right. I mean, we're trying. I guess that's what we're supposed to be talking about.
Yeah.
But so one little point though, like I think I'm gonna start putting like a line in the sand, because what you're talking about, like the football players, what we're talking like team bonding sort of stuff, or psychology. You're saying you don't want to get into the psychology of things. And I think
psychology of football. I'm happy to get in psychology of meaningful reps and high performance.
Sure. But like the doing 1,000 push-ups sort of thing, or you can't drink water for a week, you know, like those sort of like kind of tough guy stuff, and not getting to the psychology, the mentality behind doing that sort of stuff. I think people hide behind that sort of stuff, and it gets called culture. There's a culture of a training program, and when coaches come in and they try to implement culture or new culture or something like that, I think that's a hiding place for a lot of really bad ideas that people can't point to. How does this increase the number of meaningful reps that an athlete engages in?
Right.
And
well, sorry, go ahead.
I can't imagine us going that direction to like change. I don't think any of these conversations are going to go towards the culture of things. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, to me, again, sort of analogous that sort of the macro, that's sort of the culture thing is sort of a macro analogy, if you will, of what we're talking about technique, right? So let's make this culture really hard and get these feelings of, you know, whatever it is. And maybe you got to do that for you know, to bring a team together. That's why I don't pretend to know much about it, but it seems to me like it's creating this false urgency or this false sense of life or death or whatever, instead of just doing it right. You know?
I think having reasons for your behavior is what's going to bring a team together. Like having reasons for why you're doing things that are going to point to the benefit that you're going to experience.
Yeah.
You know, and communicating to an athlete that we are going to do the very least amount of hard work for the greatest amount of benefit. Right. You know, not the other way around. We're not going to do hard work for the sake of doing hard work. We're doing hard work so you could be a better person by the end of this.
Right. It all comes down to the thrower's creed. Have we talked about the thrower's creed? Have we mentioned?
I don't think so.
Should I?
Yeah, you say it. Go
Okay.
for it.
So the thrower's creed is never run when you can walk, never walk when you can stand still, never stand up when you can sit down, never sit down when you can lie down, never stay awake when you can sleep.
Yeah. I think that was the army in World War II. I think
Really?
that was there. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
And that's not, I told this to one of my fired up coaches who, you know, and it just drove him nuts. Oh, no. It's not lazy. It's not lazy. It's, if you need to walk through a brick wall, freaking walk through a brick wall. But if there's a door right beside it, maybe use the door.
Yeah. If we could stay home and play video games and be better throwers, let's do that.
Yeah.
We can't, you know, it's like I haven't found a way to do that yet. Yeah. I've been trying for a while. But
at some point you have to come off the ground with 405 pounds.
Right.
You know,
it's still a ton of work. Yeah. It's a lot of work.
At some point you have to do 10,000 reps to learn a skill. Yeah. It's hard.
It's really hard.
But it's not so don't make it harder than it needs to be.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Do the least amount of work to get the most amount of result possible. Yeah. You know, like why would you ever do the most? And so if coaches are going for culture or a psychological benefit, cut to the chase. Share your feelings. Stand in a circle, like go kumbaya, whatever.
Yeah.
Push-ups are for physiological adaptation. Like,
right.
Leave that out of it. I don't get it. Same thing with using conditioning.
That's why we're throwers, not football players.
Right. Well, same thing using conditioning for punishment. Like I don't understand. Like, why would you run a lap for what's that?
That's a horrible idea.
Oh, terrible! But that's what happens in high schools.
Yeah.
You know, it's we had to, you know, there's trash on the bus, so we're gonna be running laps.
Yeah. Now don't pick up trash. Don't make the punishment fit the crime.
Right. Yeah. We're you would think it'd be something like that. Like why wouldn't you make the thing that you do to get better a punishment?
Yeah.
I
want to back up once just for anybody that's listening. Please, all y'all, don't think you have to come off the ground with 405 pounds on your back to throw far. After I did that, I never squatted over 400 pounds again in my life. And that was before I threw 82 meters. So that's just an example of the level of stuff that you may get to the point where that happens in the process of training. It wasn't, Stuart never said, well, you have to jump squat 405 to throw 80 meters. No, we've talked about the levels of strength, the sort of the general levels of strength necessary to resist the hammer, resist the pull of the hammer. and create that much force. But it was never a specific thing of saying you have to do this to throw 80 meters. You have to do this, other than throw 80 meters, other than use the ball, other than stay level in the throw, other than stay in the 4-foot ring and keep the ball in the 34.92 degree sector. At that point, it was a 40-degree sector, but you get my point. There's the only thing that you have to do to throw 80 meters is throw 80 meters.
There's probably going to be something pretty hard that you have to do, though. I think that was your point. Analogous.
Yeah.
You're going to have to do some hard training, though.
Yeah.
I mean, that part's probably unavoidable.
I think we agree on that.
Yeah.
I think everybody maybe agrees on that.
Yeah.
So anyway, speaking of hard training.
Yeah.
Have we beat that dead horse? To beat that horse until it's.
Yeah, we probably have. I mean, it's been this whole idea of doing as many meaningful reps as possible is like cooking my brain right now. But
well, let's talk about then something that may be.
We got to be fit enough so part of getting meaningful reps. We talked about the warm up last time. You're not going to get any meaningful reps in the acute sense at that day of practice. Your body needs to be ready to train to do very difficult stuff. And so that's what the warm-up's for. It's supposed to prepare you to get meaningful reps.
Yeah.
And the warm-up itself is where you begin to get those meaningful reps. Right. I mean, that's kind of our last discussion. So we're going to talk about the circuit that we do for fall conditioning. And so this is more, I think, on a long-term preparing your body for meaningful reps. You're getting in shape. You're getting fit to start doing serious training.
I used to tell my recruits or my first year athletes that, the circuit is the thing that if you're weak, it'll make you strong. If you're fat, it'll make you lean. If you're too lean, it'll make you a little bigger. If I guess that's weak to strong. If you're imbalanced, it'll balance you out. It's just kind of an all around good thing. And it's the hardest part of training. At least it was for me, the hardest part of my year.
Yeah, I think that's right. The lifting for me was hard in other ways. It was I just hated that feeling of flailing underneath a barbell, which is usually what weightlifting was for me. And so the circuits were actually manageable. Like I knew I could actually achieve those. And so here I got these teed up, ready to go. Let's see if I could find the right one.
12 exercises. Oh, look at that.
What are you seeing? Are you seeing
a push-up in between? I'm seeing a one-legged push-up between kettlebells.
Okay, I gotta find the right. Oops. Hold on, I gotta click through a whole bunch of videos here.
Okay.
There we go. Okay, I'm seeing the same thing. So I did this the other day, and I don't want the music on. And so I'm not like in the best shape, but I think I did the exercises okay. The hardest part of this video, by the way, was figuring out, is weight room 1 or 2 words?
I think it's 1 word.
Not according to like autocorrect.
Yeah, they don't know anything.
Yeah, okay.
I'm gonna go off screen for just a minute. Oh, you muted yourself. Okay, I get it. I get what's going on. All right, so here's the rules that I tell my athletes. I'm not sure if they were explicitly told to me or I kind of ended up making these up on my own. The rules here, the whole goal of all these exercises is to achieve full range of motion. Right.
And especially if the younger the athletes you're dealing with, the more important that is.
Is there something else? Did you just call me?
We got a guest appearance by Nancy, it sounds like. Oh, there we go. All right.
She brought me coffee.
Oh, nice. Perfect. Hi, Nancy.
She's gone now.
Okay. Well, all right. So achieving full range of motion, and I kind of use this to I'll modify exercises to make sure an athlete can achieve full range of motion, especially for younger athletes. The difference between men and women, there's some, especially at the high school level, there's some differences. To move continuously from one exercise to the next. I say you don't have to move fast. You just keep going from one exercise to the next one. And once you get to the exercise, you start doing it.
Yeah.
And I've definitely done some like penguin shuffles from one exercise to the next, like gasping for air. And then the third one, I say 1 rep is equal to 1 breath. And I kind of do that to kind of control pacing a little bit. And some of the boys will like do push-ups like really fast. Like if you're doing sets of 3, they do 3 push-ups without taking a breath or something like that.
Right.
Or and also it keeps if you focus on range of motion and 1 rep is equal to 1 breath, you kind of stop the really bearing down.
Yeah.
Shouldn't be like a maximal type exercise. We're going for muscular endurance and fitness is overall fitness is the goal of this.
Yeah. I think, in real life, once you get up into the later on in the circuit, when you're doing more reps and your heart rate's at, 190 or 200, you're probably on some of the exercises going to be doing more than 1 breath per rep. But I think that the idea is really valid, and yes, continue to breathe all the way through. And that's one of the things that you learn as you get better at the circuit is you don't shut off your breath.
Right.
You keep breathing all the time because it's so important because you're so anaerobic.
Yeah. And so so I've thought about that. And so what I've found in me going through these circuits on my own is that I don't skip a breath. Like I don't skip breaths. My breathing just speeds up to match the reps because you are starting to go through the reps a little faster when you're doing 8s for a lot of it, like for step ups and stuff like that. But my breathing does actually keep pace. It's just my respiration rate increases. But
okay. We vary a little bit in a person.
I don't know. It's not exact science.
Yeah. It's been a long time since I did them. Maybe that happened to me too. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, that's just I was thinking about like how to communicate it to kids. We've talked about burpees, and so burpees I just do 3 burpees here, just 2 hands, 2 feet.
Hands come down beside the feet come up in between the hands.
Which, by the way, sorry, go for it.
Try to not come down on your fingertips. Try to come down on flat palms. That's a safety thing with your fingers.
Right. Which
that's a really high level. To be able to do that is a super high level. Hardly anybody can do it, but that's what you're trying to do. You're trying to hit here with flat palms and flat feet. Ideally, never happens. Ideally.
Right.
Like you try to accelerate the ball from 180 all the way around 180 and double support. Doesn't happen, but that's the goal.
Yeah, I've never done it, but from here, I just have my fingertips touching the ground, and then I'll go onto my palms.
You go right down,
right down onto my palms.
Yeah. At the very least, don't tuck your thumbs underneath, and you didn't. Right, the thumbs stay here. Body curls, wrap your thumbs. Always don't do a monkey grip. Always wrap your thumbs on the high bar. It's really great. It's okay to use rhythm. Little kip up there, that's okay. It might not be okay to kick yourself in the back of the head before you start your front swing with your legs. You might need to work on your fitness and strength levels if you have to do that to get your knees and your butt over your shoulders.
And so what I'll tell, so a lot of high school kids can't do this. And so in the other thing is at the top, you should I can just rest here easy.
Yeah.
And there's no strain in me holding myself up at the top there. And that should be the goal for the top of that exercise.
Yeah.
And so if athletes can't do that, I just tell them just do a body curl as high as you can. So if they get that far, okay. But I still tell them to still do the reps without touching the ground. And it's just as much of a grip exercise as anything else.
Yeah.
Especially for younger athletes.
Yeah. And try to not engage the elbows.
Right.
Try to keep long arms. It's mostly an ab and shoulder exercise.
I would argue there's quite a bit of latissimus dorsi in there because they cramped up, I think, while I was doing this.
Yeah, I should have said shoulder. Well, lat is a shoulder muscle.
I guess it is. Yeah. Oh, so down here I put like the classification of the exercise. So a push-up is just a push. Those last two, the burpees and the body curls, I call them just global.
Yep.
They're kind of full body exercises.
But if you look at it, the burpee is more of a back exercise. The body curl is more of a front exercise.
Right.
Dorsal and ventral.
I always think of they're opposites of each other almost. Yeah.
That's one of the things that makes the circuit so hard. The way it's designed is you're moving blood from one body part to the other, just completely different body parts. And that takes it out of you. This thing is a lot harder than it looks like. Yeah. This is one of the few things that we did that is harder than it looks.
Yeah. Especially if it's easy, you might be doing it wrong, or you're really fit,
or you're a javelin thrower.
Well, even then, like you should be able to do exercise. Like you can always make the exercises to your difficulty level, right? Like I could be putting my feet up on a physio ball.
Yeah.
Here, right. I mean, you can always do things to increase the requirements of the exercise.
Yeah. For instance, you're on kettlebells. Dumbbells are easier.
We don't have, so I like the round dumbbells that will roll a little bit. So you got a little bit of stability. We don't have those. We have like the hexagonal.
Yeah. So that's the next step easier.
Right.
We did have the round dumbbells. So you had to balance here. And with the kettlebells, you have to balance everything.
Right. These are pretty stable. I mean, these are heavy kettlebells but the reason why I'm elevated like this is because push-ups are as much of a stretching exercise as anything else.
Yeah.
I'm going to drop my chest right in between my hands here and feel a stretch all through my chest. And that's how I always thought of the push-ups are a stretching exercise.
Uh-huh. It's one of the easy ones, right? Well, everybody's going to have easier exercises. Like push-ups were pretty easy for me. Dips were hard.
Right. Same with me, as we'll see. But and the other thing is like there's not a whole lot of pushing in the hammer. Like
not really. There's not a lot of pushing in anything.
Shot put, discus.
Yeah, you're not really pushing.
Yeah.
It's just you're not actively doing that.
Yeah. You need enough musculature and in there to not get hurt. You don't want to pull anything, right? So you got to be able to resist forces maybe more than
sure.
Yeah. Something like that. So you're just trying to do enough push-ups to keep healthy, but then flexibility through here and mobility through here I think is really important. Which, by the way, look at that mobility. That's
awesome.
Oh, it's amazing.
Elbows are just about touching behind your head.
I know. And then we'd always lift a foot off the ground, and so you get a little cross coordination there. And
I never did that.
Oh, really?
No.
Oh, okay.
I was old. I was an old fat guy. So you were a young, fit college guy.
Pull-ups are the same thing. So I always thought of them as a stretching exercise. So I stretch all the way down. I try to feel like a stretch down anymore. I try to feel a stretch all the way to my lower back because usually it pops at some point doing these.
Yeah.
But
Again, wrap your thumbs. No monkey grip.
um,
We're
what
human. We use our thumbs.
what's your thoughts on position of the hands being straight forward or back?
Definitely like you've got them here.
Now, what's your explanation for that?
Explanation for that is when they're like this, it's really just a bicep and some rotators exercise. This one opens you up better. It opens up into a more natural or a more consistent throwing posture.
Okay, that makes sense.
You know,
Right,
you never
right.
throw here. You always throw here. Even in the hammer, you're not doing this. You're trying to maintain a posture that has an open shoulder.
Right. You never finish the hammer with your palms facing in.
Right.
Right. You're yeah, okay. That's the best okay. That's a good explanation. I like that.
I just thought of that. That was off the top of my head.
No, that's good. Because every throwing is with the palms facing out, right? That's every throwing motion.
Yeah.
That makes total sense. I'm wondering and we never focus on this, but I did have a coach ask me when I shown him the circuit. I think it was at the clinic you and I did. If we should focus on like retracting the scapulas as we come up. And I think that's great. I think we probably need to focus more on that sort of stuff.
Absolutely. Stuart would talk about that with us because when you hang, I mean, when you first learning this, you purposefully, as you say, you just stop at the bottom, just there, see it, and purposefully hang, let everything go. And then really the first thing that goes is the retraction of the scapula. And then you follow up with everything else.
Right. And I think, people who are good at pull-ups will retract their scapulas the whole way. I don't. I kind of anyway. I just try to get my little piggy body up there as any way I can.
Well, and that's again, it also has to do with the kind of athlete. Hammer throwers and generally have less upper body strength compared to lower body strength. Upper body, did I say that? Or did I think it too fast? They have less upper body strength than
other throwers
compared to their body weight, compared to like a javelin thrower or a discus thrower. And so we're going to struggle with these upper body exercises, whereas we'll probably, the squats and the step ups and that sort of stuff is going to be pretty easy for us.
All right. So we did push-ups, which is a pushing exercise, pull-ups are a pulling exercise, and we're going to do a second pushing exercise, which is dips, which are my nemesis.
Yeah, dips are not good. So the shoulders straight down on top of your hands, elbows going out to the back. You're leaning forward a little bit.
Yeah.
But you just dips, just get through them. Try not to blow your shoulder out doing them, but you do try to go down and again full range of motion, touch your shoulders to your hands, and then come back up.
Yeah. This is a pullovers, which is a pulling exercise, which can look a lot like a tricep pushing exercise if you.
Yeah.
But you're trying to pull through this whole anterior line of your body, and pull this dumbbell through.
The rest of the title of that is bent arm pullovers.
Oh, okay. There we go. So you keep your elbows bent the whole time, which I think I do.
Yeah.
And this is a stretching exercise too. I stretch down at the bottom there. This is really important for the winds and the hammer. I always thought,
Yep.
Be able to get that mobility, to have your hands behind your head. This bench is pretty low. Like I probably should have propped it up on some of the weights or something.
Yeah, you want to. Yeah, I always like that. Go into a full stretch there.
Yeah, and to where you can barely touch the weight to just the tip of the weight to the ground. That's a pretty low bench.
The other thing that I would do is I would always finish on the back. So I do 3. If you're doing 3, 1, 2, 3, come back and set the weight down above your head. So you get that one last stretch.
Oh, there you go.
The weight.
And then you don't have to do the awkward, what do I do with this weight now?
Right.
Oh, okay, there we go. That's a way better idea.
Yeah. And then you turn it around. You left out single leg snatch or single one arm snatch.
Not yet.
Yeah.
We always did those at the end.
Oh, really? Because we
Yeah.
always just picked up the dumbbell and did them right then.
Oh, okay. They're in here. Yeah, they're at the end. So step ups are single leg exercise. Which I put them in every year, and I left them out. I modified the circuit a bit this year to put in some Koji stuff. And I promptly put them back in. Like this
is to me is one of the most important exercises in the circuit.
I see it in all the throws.
Yeah.
So
especially if you do it right.
Well, yeah.
But really only if you do it right.
And
otherwise,
so
it's just a single leg strength exercise.
Right. And so I put my hands behind my back, and that kind of reminds my hips to stay out forward. My habit is I like to bend forward and have my hips go backwards.
The other thing it does, it keeps the high jump arms out of it.
Right. And you're just isolating on the legs.
Yep.
And so my goal here is I'm going to step down on the box and try to make a noise stepping down on the box. And I'm going to get my hips as high up over my foot and knee as I can, jumping up in the air.
That's really good posture with the full foot landing. Boom. Right.
And I switch legs.
On your toe or your heel, land full foot. And then the important part is the rhythm on the ground, in my opinion. Pow, pump, pow, pump, pow.
And we never emphasize this, but so I discovered this. This is a parkour technique for a lot of parkour stuff, where you throw the back leg up in the air like that.
Oh, really?
Yeah, when you do a lot of the parkour moves and stuff. So
why is that?
It's kind of it's the opposite. It accomplishes the same thing as driving your knee up in the air. You're driving your leg up in the air, but it accesses this whole back line here. And then if you're trying to get on top of a wall, it tilts you forward up over the wall.
Wow. That's really cool.
I
never thought of that. I would never drive my knee. I never coached driving the knee. It's basically just I would just hang my leg waiting for the bottom rhythm, but that's super fantastic.
Yeah. And so because I see this exercise a lot in like strength training classes and stuff like that, and people drive the knee. This is the same thing as driving the knee, but you're trying to kick this heel up with a straight leg.
So you can't leave it right there for a minute, and you can't see what I'm doing, but I'm going to do it on my screen. So what I'm doing is trying to find something that I can.
We can see you.
Make a straight line. So if you basically made the floor at the bottom of your feet where it's standing right now, and you hang your arm back like you're throwing a javelin, that's almost a perfect javelin block position.
Oh, like this?
Yeah.
So if the ground's like this?
Yeah. So there's your front line extension in the shot or the javelin or the discus. Only it's passive because you're working the other thing. You're working the back line, but you're creating this stretch in the front that this is something I've never seen. So this is really cool, and I'm learning something. That's the release position in all of the throws.
Well, now you're speaking heresy, right? Because that would mean that you'd be working off the front leg in the javelin. You'd be exploding up and out over that front leg, and you're not dry. The only thing you're doing with that back leg is you're extending off of it through through the back line. You're not.
If imagine that you're not moving, but the earth is moving toward you.
Yeah. Okay.
Which is what one of my javelin throwers once told me. We were just working on the block, and he finally hit one really clean, straight line all the way through the front. And he just went, yeah, that surprised me. It's like the earth hit him more quickly than it ever had.
Right. Well, so that's how Stuart coached me. You explode off the left leg when in the discus, javelin, shot put.
Yeah.
You come up and over the left leg. The left leg is a post that pushes straight up in the air.
Right.
As you have horizontal momentum going the other way.
Yeah. It pushes, and we're getting into stuff that anyway, but we're not just talking about hammer, but yes, you're pushing, but it's what am I trying to think of? It's a isometric push. It's not an active push like the step up, but because you're moving and the earth is there, yeah, you have to block.
Right. And this, okay. So to bring this back to hammer, so I'm coming off my right foot here, and every time, so you land with your right foot. And so how I coach it, you land with your right foot towards your focal point, and you're trying to land ahead of the ball. Before the ball gets around, your right foot it'd be your left foot, I guess. Should land before the ball gets to 180, and there's no time to squish or deform or bend. That foot has to start working. That right foot, or for a right-handed thrower, has to start working right away. And so you're training your right leg, your lead leg there, to react off the ground as fast as possible.
Absolutely. Yep.
You're right. There's not a jump. This jump that we're working on here ends up getting transferred into the ball, not into, or in the case of the javelin, that force of getting transferred into the implement, and whatever. That was articulate.
That was a nice tangent. Okay. Rabbit holes. That's a pretty high box.
I wouldn't. Yeah. That's a good point. I think it's pretty comfortable for me, but if you look,
you got long legs.
I got long legs. My knee is still below my hip.
Yeah.
Right. You don't want to go on a box where your knee is above your hip. You don't need to. And so you don't want to have this where your hamstrings are pulling down, right? You just want your quads and hip, your quads and butt to be extending up.
Yeah.
And so make sure your knee is below your hip. We have smaller boxes. Some athletes will do the step ups. There's just a little bit of raise here on this platform, so they'll do the step ups going that way.
Yeah,
you'd find ways to modify it. And we go watch it again.
And then that's another a point of debate. How do you switch legs? You switched on the fly. You did a flying lead change. If you're not coordinated enough to do that, just stop. Put the other one up. Yeah. The flying lead change is pretty cool. Sure. Totally unnecessary. Yeah. It's just doesn't matter. All right. Front squats. I started implementing these for some of my stronger throwers this year. And I just gave the rule, you can't do more than half your body weight. You can do less if you want. I didn't care. So I just told athletes, can't do more than half your body weight. I'm sure that I did 135 probably in the heat of it, but I only ever remember putting 25s on. Oh, really? This is what you had us do. Well, there you go. But anyway, this is roughly half my body weight. Yeah. I think that's fine. I think you can go a little bit over. That's easy. What's that? Yeah. It's roughly half your body weight. Yeah. I don't know. My front squats are getting a little
A little leaning forward, kind of went on my heels there. Anyway, that one's a little better.
Yeah, it's better.
But
Front squats are better than back squats.
I would say just avoid back squats
Yeah.
altogether, especially for the circuits.
Yeah.
So back extensions. So just to point out here, I kicked my foot out on purpose. And so I'm alternating. So I had both feet anchored into that endpoint there. And then now I just have my left foot anchored in.
Mhm.
So I'm alternating my legs as I do this. And this one, I do both legs, one leg. That's 1 rep.
Okay.
And then both
We,
legs, one.
we split that as we got more mature. These started hurting our backs, so we would do fewer back extensions than we would do sit-ups.
Okay.
Set up that balance. The other thing is, if you, and this is really a minor point, if you have a back extension machine that doesn't have a post where that one does, it's better if you can swing through the bottom. Just get a really nice stretch swinging through the bottom. So you don't really even stop yourself. You just swing and come back up. It's just a range of motion thing. Yeah. But most back extension machines are like this. So we were really fortunate that we had a guy that could kind of build anything that we wanted and made it work pretty well. Yeah.
And the other thing is that's me swinging through as much as I can.
Okay.
that is a full swing through right there. That's as far as I go.
All right.
Yeah. I'm impressed. Like, you went to the Olympics at my Olympic or national title at my age, at 41.
National title, yeah.
Jeez, that's incredible.
I think I was 30. I was 39 in my last Olympics.
Jeez, I cramp up getting out of bed.
It's worse.
Sit-ups. What's that?
It gets worse. For the very first time, this is a complete random. I was at my powder coaters getting some steel the other day, and sort of the foreman, the shop foreman, he's just this guy that's just tougher than hell. And we've known each other for a long time. We've worked together. And finally he says to me the other day, "Hey, how old are you?" And I says, "I'm 60. He goes, "Oh, I hope I'm in as good a shape as you are when I'm 60. It's the first time it's happened. I used to say that all the time to people. But yeah, so I'm the tough guy now.
Yeah.
Well,
well, I'm hoping I'm as good a shape as you are when you're 60. I definitely missed the whole 41 being as good a shape as you were. But
well, I was in horrible shape when I was 41. I couldn't throw 80 meters.
Yeah, could barely get 76 meters.
Big deal.
I threw a 12-pound hammer the other day. It was somewhere between 220 and 230.
Wow.
I'm not sure. It was great because it was in front of all my students and stuff. It was phenomenal. Nice. It was great. Yeah.
I hope he stopped and didn't do any more.
Oh yeah, no, that was it.
One and done.
Yeah, that's
what you have to do. That's the key to growing older.
Yeah, that's
okay.
Yeah. So sit-ups. What is there? One to the middle, then one to the side, one to the other side, and I call that one rep.
Yep.
I'm trying to keep my hands on my head.
Yeah, I mean, the goal was always, talk about meaningful reps. Stuart always wanted us to have them interlaced behind our head, and then it would migrate to just keep touching your head. So you're like, oh.
I never liked interlacing it behind my head because I would pull on my neck, and I didn't want to do that because
right.
In the hammer I'd always bend down like that anyway. So so I'd always try to touch the back of my ears because I couldn't pull on those. And then you're right, it just ended up like just touch my face at some point.
Yeah.
And so anyway,
all the way back, all the way back, and all the way up. See, if I was doing them there, I'd try to touch my elbows to the ground.
Oh, good for you. That's probably a good idea.
But with that said, we would use we would do them on an incline board with our feet locked, and that was tough.
Yeah.
Yeah, we never did them like that. We always used an incline board.
Okay.
I shouldn't say never, but yeah.
Well, okay.
And always feet locked. But then again, you lock your feet, you're compromising your psoas, and that's not good either. So it's probably better to do them your way.
I always just figured, because you're already doing the body curls. I mean, you're just trying to engage your abs a little bit just to balance out the back extensions. It's almost like doing push-ups.
Right.
For, we're stretching our chest. We're just making sure we got enough fitness through our chest to not get hurt. I feel like that's the same thing with the sit-ups.
You're weird, man. Sit-ups were hard for me. Sit-ups were the hardest thing.
Well, they were, but I just know, they were for me too. They just weren't something to freak out about. For example, so when I was coaching at Western, the girls were doing this thing where they would do an ab workout after practice, and without telling me, I was just wondering, like, man, why are these javelin throwers? I can't get them to stand up straight at the finish. They're all they all curl down at the end. I can't figure this out. And then it came out that they were doing 500 reps of crunches. Or different types of crunches and abs. Like, no wonder you have this, like, that is if with that much ab exercises, that is the dominant movement of your training.
Right. And
so of course you're going to finish like curling down like that. And they couldn't do a body curl. Right. And so they're just looking for just sweet abs, and so anyway, I guess that's what I mean for it. It's not like this dominant movement that's when where it's not a dominant move, like push-ups. It's not a dominant movement we see in the hammer throw, right? The sit-up is not a movement that makes the hammer go faster. Same with push-ups. We're just trying to counterbalance some other movements and not get hurt. Is that fair?
I don't know. I don't know how I feel about that.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. So I'm not going to comment. I don't know.
Okay. Here's your dumbbell snatches, though.
Okay.
So I use this is a 45-pound weight. And that always made sense to me because I want to do something a little bit heavier than the weight. Yeah. And you're trying to swing through, and I try to throw the dumbbell ahead of me and just have it I'm trying to sit back against it and just it should go nice and easy up to the top.
In other words, it's not a pure snatch where you're dragging the thing up to here and bringing it through. It's just a swing. It's really a dumbbell swing to extension. It's not really a snatch.
Right. It's more of a kettlebell exercise that you just bring it all the way to the top, and you should be able to hold it nice and easy at the top.
Yeah.
And once you learn that technique, like I always do this to, like, show off how cool I am. I'll take we have 100-pound dumbbells there, and I'll just take a 100-pound dumbbell and swing it up there. And it's no big deal. That technique's a pretty easy way to get a weight above your head. And then dumbbell twists. I know there's some variations of how we did this. I did it to where I'm just looking 90 and 90.
Yeah.
You keep your head in the middle.
Yep.
I just did it that way.
There's one where you can you do a plate, number one. You can do that exercise with a plate, which is we did a lot.
Right.
And then there's the one where you can bring it up here and swing it down and get a little bit of pendulum.
Mm-hmm.
And that's good for when you're on the award stand doing this.
I think so, but a couple things that's pretty consistent though is your weight should be equally distributed at both feet the whole time. Head should be right in the middle of both your feet while you're doing any sort of twisting exercise.
Yeah, feel free to move that back foot. Don't twist your knees off doing your dumbbell twists.
Well, and
Careful
yeah,
of that.
I would say you should rotate that back foot around because that's how you're going to get a full finish on a hammer.
Yeah.
Or as far as that goes, javelin, discus, shot put. I mean, you need that mobility.
Yeah.
But you should rub your eye afterwards. Yes. All right. What I put here? So those should be done in a circuit to where you go from one exercise to the next, to the next, to the next, to the next.
Yep.
And then go do 2 more rounds of that for 3 rounds total. And I say do 3 to 10 reps per exercise. And how we would do this is we would start at 3s every year.
Yep.
Right. And every week we would add a rep.
Yep.
So we go 3s, 4s, 5s, 6s. Then after 6s, we'd go 8s, 10s.
Oh, really?
That's what you had us do.
No, I did not. We
Yes,
went up
you did.
one rep a week.
No, we skipped. We
Did we
skipped
really?
7s. Yeah.
Well, that's because you guys were tough and in
We
shape.
were.
We never did. We had to go up 1 rep at a time.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, the old fat guys. Yeah.
It would make sense to go up, to start going up 2 reps at some point, because going up, you're not, the workload increase. The difference between 3 and 4 reps is huge.
Yeah.
That's a big increase.
Yeah.
I mean, you're increasing 25%, right? Or 33%. I'm not sure how you calculate that.
Yeah.
Going from 6 to 7 reps isn't that big of an increase. It would make sense that you would go from 6 to 8 reps. That'd be a 25% increase.
Yeah. The thing to remember is that they never get easy.
No.
If you're moving up at all, they're never easy. Once you get to 10s and you come back down, because then the follow-up is, at least we did. I don't know if I had you guys do it or if you did it. Then we would do, when did we do that? We would warm up for weights with a set of 6.
Yes.
1 set of 6 in the circuit.
And I think that is the genius of this whole thing, is the circuit becomes the warm up for weight training.
Yeah.
You
And
do
by
one.
then, yeah, sorry.
Oh yeah. Then you're daydreaming through it.
Yeah.
You're just getting through it. Yeah. You do 1 round of 6 to warm up for the whatever weight workout you're doing.
Yeah. I kind of forgot that until just now. Yeah. That's good.
No, and so I think for high school track, that's all the workout should be, is you're just teaching the warm-ups for the district competition.
Mm-hmm.
That's all, because you're in the competitive phases of a track season.
Yeah.
And take forever just to teach the warm-ups for districts.
Yeah.
And things just slowly condense down. I'm kind of convinced that trying to do any sort of workout during track season is silly.
Yeah. Well, you're competing twice a week.
Just that's all track season should be. And I think for all events, like you're just learning how to run 100 meters is probably enough conditioning. You don't need to do any extra conditioning to get anybody in shape for the 100 meters. They're not going to get in shape for the 100 meters. I mean, it's too late. Practice starts in March and districts are in May.
Yeah.
What are you going to do? Hay's basically in the barn. You have just enough time to give your athlete shin splints. And so anyway, the circuits, and like I said, we would start in October and we pretty much go till Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just kind of how then we do circuits that whole time. I remember doing them 3 times a week.
Yep.
As I'm older, I can't do them 3 times. I can only do them 2 times a week.
Yep.
I mean, and so
that's exactly right. Yeah, we started when I first got here. We did them 3 times, and two or so. It has to do with the maturity of the athlete as a person, and the maturity as an athlete as a training person, right? So if you're, I'd never done them. I got here when I was 21 or 22, so I was able to do 3 times a week for a while because I had a young training age, even though I was older. If somebody's been doing them all through college, and they've been doing three times a week because they're young, then as they grow older with that training knowledge, with that training maturity, they're going to have to go down to 2, even though they're going to have to go down to 2 younger than I did, because their training age is older as it comes to the circuit. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Do you think it's because, just going back, like they just get more meaning out of the reps that they're doing in the circuit? I mean, they need more recovery time. They're getting more work done per rep of the circuit.
I think your body, I think it has to do with adaptation. And once you adapt to something, you just can't do it as much. And with natural, age, you can't do as much when you're older. That's why I can only do 2 now. You have to, a 30-year-old athlete just can't do the volume of work that a 20-year-old athlete, given the same training age.
So I just, the training age, you have 2 20-year-olds. One of them's done the circuit all through high school. The other one hasn't. I mean,
they're not going to, the one with more training age is not going to get as much benefit as the one that just starts them.
Right. That part makes sense. How I think of that one is the older the training age, the athlete with the more training experience doesn't need to do as many. They just don't need to. You can get away doing less.
Yeah, maybe. I've always looked at it like your body gets bored.
So that's what I was going to say. By the time I get to 10, by the time we got to the 8s and 10s, it was boring doing the circuits, because doing 8s takes a long time. Yeah. That's a lot of reps. And so I remember just being super bored. And it's like 6 weeks of training. And I think that's probably a pretty good indicator that it's time to change up the workout, is once you start getting bored. And I could see someone with more training experience would get bored faster.
Yeah.
Which I think it's totally appropriate to change up the exercises of the circuit. As long as you kind of keep the principles, you want full range of motion. 1 rep is 1 breath. You want it about that rhythm, and move continuously, so you get some aerobic benefit from doing the circuit. I can see changing up a lot of the exercise in the circuit. Like, for example, my high school athletes, we didn't do front squats. We did these I got them from Koji. He calls them Koji wall sliders, I think, or angled wall sliders or something. Anyway, we just did foam roller stuff where you keep your hands in place, and it was just a different type of squatting exercise that I thought would work on their posture more.
Yeah.
And so, I think there's a lot of freedom to kind of change up the exercises to make it fit your athletes and fit the technique, and make it more interesting, to make it fun.
Right. And you mentioned the three tenets of it, but also push, pull, front, back. Push, pull, dorsal, ventral. You don't want to. That was the failing. And as I look at your circuit, putting the single arm snatch after the sit-ups is a really good idea. First of all, because it's front and back, but also there's space. It puts more space between the sit-ups and the body curls, which was always a crunch for us.
Oh,
Because
yeah.
we would go, at the end of it would be back extension, sit-ups, twists, burpees, back to body curls. So basically sit-ups, and then you're just dreading body curls.
So, and how I always thought about it too, you had the twists that were this horizontal swing,
Yeah,
and then the single snatches were this vertical swing.
yeah,
I mean, to me, it just made sense. You're just swinging the weight around in different planes
yeah.
of motion.
So that's a really good point too. And so, but yeah, as long as you keep those things in mind, yeah, it doesn't matter what you do. You do,
Right.
you do a push, you do a pull, you do a back exercise, you do a front exercise.
A single leg exercise, a double leg exercise,
Yeah.
and throw in some global exercises.
Yeah.
I don't think you ever go wrong with a burpee and a body curl. I mean,
No.
they're cool.
Okay.
Um,
All right.
yeah.
Yeah, I think that's, I'm not going to say that's certainly to me the most unique thing that we did.
Yeah, I think that's as far as like the conditioning part of things.
Yeah. I'm not going to say it's the most important part of our training for the year, but certainly, I remember thinking, I talked to one of the Russians and like, oh yes, we did this when we were young. We don't need to do this now. That's exactly why I'm beating you, because I'm still doing them. Right. Very important. And for just overall fitness and overall athletic ability. So yeah.
I think you get lesser athletes beat better athletes by continually reinforcing basic movements. I mean, I think that's how it works. And I think there's plenty of coaches that are fine just looking for that one great athlete, and they'll coach them and they'll be champions at whatever level that they're at, and they'll be happy with that. But it's pretty cool. I mean, you don't always know who that athlete is,
Right.
And so you got to, it's as much as a way to find who the good athletes are, as it is developing everybody.
Yeah.
And so,
yeah, Dillinger used to say that about Stewart, that if they could breathe, Stewart could make them throw far.
yeah,
And that's part. This is definitely part of it.
yeah. Well, like he was ruthless about meaningful reps.
Yeah.
I think it comes back to that. The coach that can find more meaningful reps will develop better athletes or better performances.
Yeah. Go back to that screen. You had a screen on that we didn't. Did you have a screen that we didn't talk about?
Oh, we had lots of. I mean, I got
start with 3 and move up.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think it was pretty much just what I said. So,
yeah. There you go. Yeah.
Modify exercise as needed to safely achieve full range of motion. I think that was the other things. Like I've had to modify like the push-ups for a lot of the girls. I modify the push-ups so the hands are up higher than the feet, so they can go all the way down, all the way back up. I don't like doing knee push-ups. I'd rather have them feel have stability through their toes. And then,
push-ups are pretty. They're pretty. Well, I do need push-ups now, but it's easy to tell yourself that, I can't do this. I have to drop to my knees. It's so easy to go to your knees. And so, yeah, I like the idea of doing something, just as you said. What you said, yes, is right. And so as I think through, I would never. Well, I did it sometimes with my athletes, but say like at a clinic, I would never spot the body curl all the way up.
No,
you can do it. 2 things. It's really dangerous because if they're not fit enough to hold on, if they're not fit enough to do the body curl, they're probably not fit enough to hold on to the bar. And so then you're helping somebody get inverted when they're in really bad shape. The other thing is it's pretty awkward as a man trying to spot a young lady in a body curl, because you just have to grab their butt and shove up. So it's really pretty awkward. So I didn't do that, except for every once in a while, if I had a college athlete that just needed to get that sixth rep,
just that.
just give them a little bump.
I don't do that.
Pull-ups and dips, you can grab the feet from behind and let them straighten their legs a little bit to help themselves. That's really about the only thing that you can spot.
I think the point, and so I'm very anti-spotting in general. I would go for modification over spotting. Change the exercise so you can do it. You're just looking for a full range of motion pulling exercise. Modify it, just change it so you can get a full range of motion.
Well, that's why the spotting from behind with the feet, that is kind of changing. You're not really giving them any external impetus. You're just giving them a place to modify the exercise.
Right. The only thing
to push for themselves.
Right. And so the only thing is like the body will restrict the range of motion based on the weakest part of the body. So like you're saying, if their grip is weak, they won't pull up all the way. Right. And so if you're spotting someone with their feet and they lose their grip, they fall. Which at the collegiate level, it's probably not that big an issue. At the high school level, it's a real issue. And so I'll even do things, I call them reverse push-ups. I put the squat rack bar, up, I don't know, about this high on squat rack, and they just lie down underneath the squat rack and they just pull up like this. And I tell them, okay, and then you're gonna stretch out all the way at the bottom. And so I just like modifying things so athletes can do it on their own. The other cool thing about being able to do that is you don't need a spotter, so it doesn't interrupt anybody else's workout. And the other thing is, like, we have 20 people on our throw squad, and they're all doing the circuit, right? We don't need to come up with special workouts for people. Everybody just kind of modifies the exercise that's going to work for them. So we all do it together as a team.
Yeah.
Which is real. I really like that aspect of it. And which means the first day I take my time. It takes a full day to go through and teach the circuit the first day. And we go through and everybody kind of figures out what pulling exercise is going to work for them, what pushing exercise is going to work for them. And then the day after that, we actually do it for real, and everybody does their version of the pushing exercise. So the one other thing, it drove me nuts at the beginning of this season, because I'm teaching exercise physiology and exercise program design, and it says, to start an exercise program with untrained athletes, you should be doing 2 to 3 sets of 12 to 20 repetitions to build up this muscular endurance. And it drove me nuts that, like, we start at 3 reps. And it really bothered me. And so I called up this exercise physiologist that I know, and I said, okay, this is bugging me. Can you help me out with this? And we basically kind of said, well, your coach is probably pretty smart. He probably knows what he's doing. And so we thought about it in the context of the throw. 3 reps is a lot of reps. You're training at more reps than you're going to be using in the throw. So you are training at high reps. And if you put in the totality of the whole circuit, it is a whole bunch of reps that you're doing. And so as you work up, you're just gaining fitness from there. And so I like that. You're still working on muscular endurance in the context of the throw. You're developing that fitness, and they are more reps than you would need in like one discus throw is like 2 reps.
Yeah.
I don't know if that makes sense at all, but
it does.
Okay. It just bugged me that I couldn't figure that about that.
Yeah, it's working on physiology that we don't need.
Yeah. I mean, I couldn't imagine doing 12. If you do 10 reps of anything, I would get bored so quick. Anyway. All right. Anything else we need to talk about?
No, that was a good one, I think.
I think so too. All right. I'm stopping this. We gotta figure out a better way to sign off. Like and subscribe. I think that's what I'm supposed to say.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I think that's the thing. That's the
Yeah,
thing.
I've heard that before on stuff.
Yeah, like and subscribe.